next, talking about the opportunities in travel and tourism, particularly for young people, given the difficulties there are in the region of finding sufficient employment for young people in particular. But before I hand over to Chris, who's going to moderate this session, on Sunday we launched the World Responsible Tourism Awards here on Earth Day at Arabian Travel Market. And what's interesting about it is I think it shows, if you look at the images, it shows the range of different kinds of work which are part of the travel and tourism industry. Too often, parents in particular see travel and tourism as just being about the hotel bedrooms, but it's about lots more than that. It's about wildlife and guiding. It's about work in front offices. And one of the problems in this region is that people who get to senior posts in front office management are often poached out into financial services where the salaries are higher. It's about local economic development, it's about PR and communications, and it's about the really difficult task, the seriously difficult task of managing destinations. So there's a whole range of jobs, and I hope in the discussion today we'll focus on more than just the very traditional jobs in hospitality. The other thing I wanted to say by way of opening is if you talk to any general manager of a hotel, many of them had no qualifications when they originally entered the industry. It is a wide open industry in which there are lots of opportunities for progression. And just the day before yesterday, I heard a rumor that the first female GM has been appointed in Saudi Arabia. Now, if that rumor turns out to be correct, that's a major change in the way travel and tourism will be perceived in the region. But Chris, over to you.
Thank you. Can you all hear me? This microphone, you can, I hope. Yes. Thank you very much. Welcome everybody to this session on skills development, employment opportunities for travel and tourism. I just wanted to take a moment to set the scene because we live in a world now of very fast accelerating pace of change in tourism. Do we really know what travel and tourism is going to be like in 10 and 15 years' time? So how are we going to develop the relevant training to achieve that change? For example, there's been an enormous amount of innovation change in technology, and here at the ATM we've heard EMEA Properties announce that they will be removing all front of office staff in favour of using modern technology. But at the same time we hear from Travel Reports research that the majority of visitors actually want to speak to experts to understand destinations. And yesterday when I met Nada of Wonder with Nada, she tells us that the most interesting thing that her visitors find when she guides them around Dubai is that they enjoy local hospitality. So it may be a contradiction. So what roles and what training do we need for the future? As the region's largest population segment is under 30, we also need to be looking at economic opportunities for young people and encourage them into tourism. And as you well know, in some countries here, some of the nationals are not so sure they want to be front of desk staff. And yet, there's a yearning for tourism product that actually wants to meet nationals from the region. So we have a gap there as well. Now, today we're going to hear from a panel of experts. We have three here who are going to discuss training, the next generation, and how we can progress. So we have Heidi van der Walt, Managing Director from Better Africa. Samir Arora, General Manager of the Retreat Palm Dubai M Gallery. It's a very long list there. I think I did that right. And Elaine Barouche, Director of Human Resources, the Middle East and Radisson. So I'm giving them each 10 minutes to talk, and then you have the opportunity of putting questions to them at the end, which is, I often think, the most valuable part of sessions like this. So I'm hoping to see lots of notes being taken and everybody ready with difficult questions at the end. Okay, so first of all, Heidi, you're ready to kick off with your presentation. Thank you.
So, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm bringing a perspective from a different part of the world, from the southernmost part of Africa. But I think that some of the points that I want to make are also applicable to training the next generation for tourism in this area. So what you're seeing on the screen are some of the species that are found on the coastline of that part of Africa. So southern right whales, great white sharks, African penguins. These are all endangered species, and they are all clustered on that part of the coastline. Now, here in the United Arab Emirates, I know that there are, for example, red turtles, there are dolphins, and then a variety of marine life. So there is also marine tourism in this vicinity. So what I want to talk about is empowerment through skills development and employment opportunities in Hans Bay. And the focus of my talk is a bit of research that I've recently done in that area as part of PhD work. Now, marine wildlife tourism is where tourists go and watch marine animals in the wildlife, very simply put. It's a growing activity all over the world, also in this region. So, for example, in 1984, only 4 countries in the world provided whale watching experiences. By 2008, that had grown to 119 countries. So it's a growing activity worldwide. And what you see there are the growth rates in different parts of the world. Now, there's a very high growth rate in developing countries and countries where there are high levels of poverty and unemployment. Now, this may not be the case everywhere in the UAE, but it is particular where the research is taken. So the research area is in South Africa, and specifically in a province that is to the south, and then, okay, I can't work that thing, but you can see where the magnifying glass is. It's an area that's about 2 hours away from Cape Town, which is a major tourism hub in South Africa. And in this place, there are 10 wildlife tourism operators that are permitted by government to take tourists out on boats to go and watch whales and dive with sharks. So it's the biggest cluster of marine wildlife tourism businesses in the country, and therefore I've chosen that area to look at closely. Now, it's also an area where there is evidence of human habitation of more than 70,000 years ago, where fossils and evidence of human artwork has been found in a cave in that area. But it's also a population that today has tremendous developmental issues. Now, those are some of the statistics. And I want to point out, for example, the school dropout rate there is 48%. So almost half of children who enter school do not finish school, which means that they have limited employment opportunities, and if they do get work, they end up in low-skilled positions, and therefore their households end up being quite poor. There is also tremendous inequality in this particular area. So those are some stats of wards within the municipal area in Hans Bay. Ward 1 on the left is the poorer ward of them, and you can see that a very high percentage of households live in shacks or informal dwellings and have very low annual income. So the annual household income there is $5,000 a year, which is a very, very tiny amount. So I focused on a range of ways to extract information from local residents about what is the effect of tourism on them. And I will talk specifically about what's happened in terms of skills development and training, both for employees and also for local residents, and then also where they see themselves going and what is necessary for the future of that industry. So these are some of the quotes that come out of that research. Now, if you look at those, you'll see that it's a kind of thing that most parents across the world would say. They want a better future for their children, something that is different to what they had. They would want more opportunities. There's a specific focus on what happens to women as well and female children, so that she has a better future. Words from employees saying that I want my job to give me enough income so that I can give my children a better education. And I want opportunities to also improve my skills and grow into higher positions. So then this is what households and employees are saying. So let's look at how the industry is then addressing that. And I'm going to be using a couple of cameos of individuals working in that sector. So this is a woman by the name of Nika. Nika is a single mother, which is a very common phenomenon in that area where fathers are entirely absent or they hardly ever feature in the lives of children. So the burden of raising children is with the mother. Therefore, her income is really important. Now, Nika started in 2009 as a general worker in a kitchen in a base that provides the catering for whale watching and shark diving trips. And she started as a kitchen hand because previously she was working as a nurse, but she was in a car accident, hurt her back, and could no longer lift patients. So she took on whatever employment was available and started there. She's grown tremendously through the assistance of the company that she works for. And that is her life path. So very soon after she started working, they recognized her attitude, positive attitude, and aptitude, and a bright smiling face, and a willingness to do things. So they brought her onto the front of house. Very soon she was promoted to front of house manager, obviously with training and mentoring. She was enrolled in a small business management course, completed that diploma, and then went on to establish 2 of our own small businesses. The one, a driver's academy. Again, being able to drive is quite a critical skill. So she started that business, and then Shark Shack, which is a shop that sells T-shirts and curios and so forth to whale watching and shark diving tourists. She's the co-owner of that. She still works in Marine Dynamics, which is the primary business that she works for. She is today the HR operations manager, and she owns a quarter of that business. So tremendous growth that has happened, but she had to acquire interpersonal skills in terms of dealing with the trade. She needed to acquire business management skills because now she needs to read financial statements. She needed to acquire human resource management skills because that's part of her function, is with disciplinary hearings and so forth. And obviously interacting with the trade at a trade show level is very different to what she did at a kitchen hand. So that's been her career path. The second individual is a gentleman by the name of Kira. Now, Kira comes from a rural area in the Eastern Cape where there's very few employment opportunities, very poor population, and a lot of residents of that area migrate to the Western Cape in order to find employment there. Now, this particular population group has no relationship with the sea historically. So, in fact, there's a fear and a reverence for the sea. So being able to swim is not something that you would find amongst children in Kira's population group. So again, he has grown tremendously. Then they also invest in young children through environmental education programs, which gives them career opportunities in marine biology. And these are just some images of children being taken out to sea to learn about the sea, but also acquiring literacy and numeracy skills, essential again to be able to finish school and to take on higher level careers in future. So this is the way in which the tourism sector in that part of the world is investing in the future generation, not only their employees, but also local residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heidi. So now it's Samir. Would you like to talk to us? So Samir is from the Retreat Palm Dubai M Gallery.
So I'll be presenting a little different perspective than the actual topic. There are a few initiatives we're doing at the hotel level, and I'd like to actually present those. Just bear with me. I hope it opens. So the hotel I run is actually located on the Palm. It's the first, it's called the Retreat Palm Dubai M Gallery by Sofitel. It's part of M Gallery by Sofitel chain, which is Echo Hotels. We're the first property which is a wellness resort in the Middle East. We actually offer 360-degree holistic well-being programs within the resort, and it's located on the east crescent of the Palm. And what we have done is we have launched the hotel with predominantly a female team, and we continue to get inspired by them every day and empower them. All right, so we have a program called Inspired by Her, which is a very M Gallery centric program. It is a program which focuses on female guests, especially single lady travelers. We fully cater to single lady travelers. Unlike in the hotels, you will find things like one-size-fits-all bathrobe or slippers. We differentiate things for women. So we have two different sizes of slippers, two different sizes of bathrobes. We equip things like twigs, makeup remover, etc., etc. Just like to touch upon what women constitutes today in the travel and tourism workforce, which is actually 70%. 70% of the workforce is actually women in travel and tourism. Out of that, 40% hold managerial and supervisory positions, 20% hold general management roles, and 5 to 8% hold corporate board roles. So we have 53 female colleagues within the hotel, out of which we have 5 in the senior role, 11 in the mid-scale, and 16 supervisors. And our strategy is to actually take it beyond 30%. So we have dedicated programs to actually develop skills and manpower, especially women workforce. We have established coaching, mentoring, and internship programs, which is called In Your Shoes, which is actually designed to support women empowerment in the hotel. And it's also in line with the Accor Hotels initiative. There's a big initiative from the Accor Hotels on the same program. So we were fortunate enough to actually associate ourselves with an organization called Evolving Women. That was November last year, where we got endorsed by them. And we were the first hotel in the UAE to be endorsed by Evolving Women. There were quite a stringent selection process and evaluation before they actually endorse, because they work very closely with UN Women, actually. So it's an organization which is well backed by UN Women. And Evolving Women actually focuses a lot on employability of underprivileged women from developing countries. And what they do is they provide them necessary resources, network, education, and employment opportunities, which otherwise would not be available to them in their own countries. So as I said, they work very closely with UN Women in markets like Africa, Turkey, Jordan, and Egypt. They help underprivileged women, as I said. They actually help them to groom and equip and provide them necessary skills before they actually arrive in the hotel. So they're backed by some very big multinationals who actually support them, like Accenture. Accenture actually helps them provide hospitality soft skills, and then that follows with a very comprehensive induction program of evolving women. And then they actually move into the hotel. So it's all in all a 15 to 18 months program before they move back into their own countries to cater to their communities and the hospitality sector. They're also in talks with some very big global technological partners to come on board and actually impart some necessary technological skills before they come on board. So far we have employed one as a pilot. We are in a process of onboarding another 5 women, and then hopefully we'll progress and support many more, all right? Yeah, so the first one we got was a single mother from Ghana, extremely committed lady, and we're very, very pleased to have her on board. And she's already finished 6 months. Hopefully then when she goes back to Ghana, we'll have a living testimonial within the market. Yeah. So we're actually privileged to be partners with Evolving Women, and if you give me an opportunity to introduce that lady, her name is Azia Roker-Smith. She's sitting in between here. She's the one who leads Evolving Women. So we thank you so much, Azia, for that. And that's about it. Thank you so much.
That's a very lovely presentation.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to hearing questions to ask of you exactly what type of training she was provided.
Yeah.
So the structure of the
Definitely.
training and so on, which we can perhaps discuss later. So Elaine is now going to talk. She's on behalf of the Radisson Middle East, and she has 10 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So my name is Aline. I actually oversee not only Middle East, but Africa and Turkey as well as area HR director. So just to give you a bit of insight of who we are, we operate in Middle East and Turkey over 100 hotels across 32 countries, and we have more than 8,000 employees. We deliver Every Moment Matters through our belief, and one of them is obviously through the Yes I Can spirit that we have, that we believe in growing talent, and talent also will grow us, and that we believe anything is possible. In our company, where we have 1,400 hotels across 114 countries, as well as creating Every Moment Matters, we want to create a sustainable future for them. So we have 3 key pillars. The first one is Think People, Think Community, and Think Planet. Think People is about always caring for our guests, employees, and people in the supply chain. Think Community is about creating shared values and providing employment. So we are committed to provide employability training for 1,400 hoteliers and privilege young people each year. And then Think Planet is about minimizing our footprint carbon in terms of energy and water. Yeah, okay. So I want to share with you today 2 main initiatives or strategy that we have. First, we're going to talk about youth employment, and then diversity and inclusion, because it obviously goes hand to hand. Before I start, I want to give you a quick introduction, first of all, on does anyone in the room knows how many young people are currently unemployed in the world? Any figures? Stephanie? No. 71 million young people are currently estimated to be unemployed worldwide, which is obviously quite a lot. Working on providing a bit better future for young people is a goal for Radisson Hotel Group and the hotel industry. Last September, the hotel industry, so not only our group, but also all the other major chain, through the International Tourism Partnership, launched these 2030 sustainable goals. Collectively, the industry will work on providing employability training for the children under 25 years old to 1 million young people by 2030, which I think is a great achievement in the hospitality industry. Yeah. I'm also very proud that we are a global partner of SOS Children Village. What we do with them is, beyond sponsoring children, is a program that combines hands-on experience in variety of hotel departments with classroom training, disadvantaged young people that spend up to 6 months learning key skills, building their confidence, and taking the first step in their career. 85% of the program graduates get a job at Radisson or any other hotel company and continue that education. We are currently running successful young career initiative program in 5 countries. In Romania, Ethiopia, Lebanon, Senegal, and Zambia. We are exploring the possibility of rolling it out in South Africa and Sierra Leone later this year. Oh, 1 second. Okay. The Youth Can Partnership helps to empower. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. Youth Can Partnership helps to empower young people and help them prepare for the transition to independence and the job market. Support also young people to help them prepare for the labor market and increase their employment prospect. Youth Link is like Facebook, pretty much, that they use in order to advertise job vacancies, to also post anything that is related to career in general and what the students or the children wants to know all about. Talking about diversity and inclusion, our company has done a lot over the few years, and I'm obviously very proud to present you just a few. So I'm not going to go in detail to all of them because I only have a few minutes, and I can see my colleague here looking at me. But I wanted to touch base on 2 main ones, and the first big one is actually women in leadership. If you were here in the previous presentation, you have heard my colleague Hamzia speaking about women in leadership and what at Radisson Hotel Group we have done lately. And just to name a few, so we started with training where we have implemented STEPS. STEPS is for women in the workplace who are aspired to be managers in the future, and then they go into the journey of that training, and then 18 months later they get graduated or they actually are promoted. We are also leading the way. I'm sure most of you are aware that we have hired, and it's a great honor for us to have the first female GM worldwide, who is a Saudi national, Maram Kokandi. And we are aiming to continue also for her and the team to lead the way by recruiting many more women in the workplace. Not to name a few, also in Saudi Arabia, our key focus was on women in leadership, elevating the number of female employees into the workplace. So when we started, we had around 30 employees, and now we had 152, which is quite amazing in Saudi Arabia. We've also launched more initiatives, such as an enhanced maternity policy across Middle East and Turkey. And that was very much for us to make sure that, we nurture the female the female with us, or the employees, and then the workforce, and just make sure that obviously they have a career with us. And then we're aspiring to grow the female population GMs in our area, which is obviously a key topic. Not to name a few, you can see on the slide, we also have done a lot of work when it comes to nationalization, working with people with different disabilities such as autism, deaf employees, etc. So we have programs that we're currently running in our hotels and including them with us in either front of the house or back of the house. Thank you very much.
Well, I have to say, I thought those presentations were fantastic, to show how businesses are really taking responsibility and broadening their training program. And we unfortunately only gave them a very short amount of time to explain what they were trying to do. So I think it's really worthwhile now to ask the questions of more details of what was the content of the training, how was it structured, how was it adjusted for different cultures. So please ask your questions now. This is an excellent opportunity to, as there's this awful English expression of picking people's brains, but to get information about how they applied it. So is there a roving microphone anywhere? Thank you, Harold. So, first question.
Hi, sorry, my question is to the gentleman, Samir? Yeah. It's great to see all the initiatives you've done for women in leadership and women at the workplace in your hotel. I just wanted to ask, what's the main objective of increasing the women workforce in your hotel? Why is it so important?
I think I explained that one, the concept actually needs to be supported by women because it's a woman-centric brand, and secondly, it's also our personal initiative at the hotel level that we like to bring about the gender equality. I think that sort of drives that, and we like to, personally, I believe that women are more suited to hospitality than men.
Is there another question? Well, I'd like to ask you, what was the training design structure? What makes it different to train women to welcome women in a hotel compared to men? What's the content difference?
I think women are more articulate and more detail-oriented than men, and they're more sensitive. I think they have the better sense of that finesse, and I think that's what encourages me to bring more women on board.
Any other questions? Yes, please.
We have the microphone. Sorry, can you take the microphone?
We all want to hear your question.
Hi, I'm in recruitment, and I just wanted to see that. I mean, it's impressive that you are using young people in your workforce. Is it possible to say that the women or the men, whoever they are, how are they incorporated into the company, and what is the proportion? And would recruitment companies help you if we identify young people who need to be trained or who want to get into the hospitality industry? Because we get lots of questions from companies on hotel, basically schools, who are wanting to encourage their young people, but they don't seem to be getting any responses from hotel companies, basically, to sort of give them, they're trained. And the thing is that you all are spending money on training, but these people are already trained and they're unemployed. And you said that there are so many young people who are not getting jobs. But is there a way that recruitment companies can give you, we can send them to you, or referrals or whatever, so we can bridge that gap, for young people?
Okay, thank you. So they're looking for feedback and
Sorry.
guidance.
Yeah.
You answer that question. I think one of the problems is that the people who've already been trained aren't necessarily the people you're looking for.
Not
Do you
necessarily.
prefer to train your own staff, don't you?
Yeah, because what has happened is there's a big disconnect between the industry and the hotel schools, especially I'm not talking about hotel schools in Europe, but our traditional workforce come from Asia and Africa, and the hospitality schools which are there, they actually don't keep up with the trends, they don't keep up with the, what the industry actually needs, and the skills imparted to them are actually not required. They're all irrelevant today. So there's a big disconnect between what hotels actually need to what hotel schools are actually producing today. So what then it requires is you have to still bring those people on board and retrain them, reinduct them. And that mainly goes towards grooming. I think this is, 5-star is all about detail, grooming, and how you present yourself. And that's where the biggest gap is. Unlike the other schools for the other industries, they work very closely with the industry. And here there's no involvement of industry in the hotel schools when it comes to curriculums, when it comes to training, etc., etc. And the only exposure they get is this 5 or 6 months industrial training or internship they get, but that's it. And after that, they go back to the old traditional curriculum, which are 15, 20 years old, and they're absolutely irrelevant today.
Yeah, just a moment.
I'm just saying that they've already got training, right? And say, for example, you can take India. There are various hospitality schools there who are churning out
70,000 schools in India.
Yeah, but there are some.
2 or 3 schools are only relevant in India, to be honest, where I would like to recruit people from.
Anyway, so I'm just saying that you have you have the basis to work with. They're already very keen on hospitality, so they've already got the passion. So to tap into that passion for young people, I'm just saying that we get a lot of requests, and I'm just wondering whether, is there some way that we can help bridge that gap for unemployment?
So in our company, for example, we took a different approach. We actually recruit for, how to say it, we actually train skills, but recruit them on the attitude, if that answers your question.
And
That should be done at the school level. This is what my point is.
But Samir, I think also what you're saying is that some of the training is very brand specific, so other colleges can't provide that type of training. Am I right in
Yes,
understanding?
absolutely. I mean, it's everything today is, we're talking about millennials today. They want to be learning in a technological environment. Everything needs to be app-based. Everything needs to be, technology-based. But they're still stuck in their own books and things, and that doesn't work for industry today. There's a whatever the delivery is, that's very suited to Generation X or baby boomers like me.
So what is your delivery? Is it through sort of multimedia techniques or classroom? How do you achieve it?
So yeah, we bring skills on board, and then whatever the minimal skills we bring in on board. What we recruit is, as my colleague said, attitude, and then we still have to impart and train them to where the industry or the hotel requirement is.
So face-to-face training, classroom training.
Classroom, on the job, off the job, coaching, mentoring, shadowing, all techniques are used in.
Thank you.
in
Any
training
other
people.
questions? Yes, please.
Good morning, my name is Christina. I just wanted to ask, since there is such a gap between training in schools and what the industry needs, wouldn't it be easier if big hotel corporations that have the financial power to invest would reach to the schools to close that gap? Because to me it sounds like a loss of time. They spend so many years in school learning skills that they will not be able to use, and then they need to be retrained. So instead of being retrained in the industry, wouldn't it better for the hotel to go to the core and sort it out from the beginning?
Thank you for your question.
And for us, for example, as a group, we actually have partnered with some hotel schools in Africa. So we go and deliver some curriculum across the year, where obviously then we take them for internship. And after that, if they want to join us, that they can as well. So we embed that as well in their programs.
If brands then go and adapt schools like how Radisson has done, and we actually give our brand standards, our requirements, our soft skills, they get trained, so we save that time. When they actually come on board, then we save this 3 to 6 months, which is required to train the workforce. I think that should be the approach.
So you're both saying collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Heidi, how is it applied in Africa?
Well, the particular companies that I've spoken about says exactly what you said. They would not employ somebody who has gone through a tourism management course, for example. They'd rather take somebody who has the right attitude and train them up in the business to work specifically on what's important to that business and give very specialized skills that's required in that industry as well. In a previous career, I taught at a technical university, and what I'm hearing is what we consistently heard as well, the gap between the industry and the hotel schools or the universities. And very often hotel schools have advisory boards where the industry is represented. The problem is very often that curriculum change and that kind of thing is a very cumbersome process as well, which does not always make that relationship that easy as well for the changes to be implemented quickly either.
Just to give you an example, hotel schools still teach you, serve from the right, clear from the left, wines and cheeses. This is given today, but the approach has changed totally in the industry. Yes, we need to have wine and cheese knowledge, but then you have to go beyond that.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Okay, so we are seeing that there is an increase in cost of manpower. We also see that there's technology getting adapted more than what we saw in the last decade in multiple hotel companies across the globe. My question is, keeping these two factors in mind, what do you see as future trend in employee to room ratio, and what is the implication on GOP for the owners that you deliver, Samir?
Well, that's a tricky question. Yeah, I think traditionally today, if you look at a five-star hotel, is 1:1, 1:1, which is one employee to per room. So that's how you measure your room to staff ratio. But as very rightly said, that's under pressure because we have some 50,000 rooms or 100,000 rooms still to open in Dubai as a city, for example. And industry typically poaches from one hotel to another, and that inflates costs. And that's something which we'll have to face and find efficiencies. The only thing I think about in my personally in the hotel is multitasking. So we're actually training people to do multiple jobs, and we've gone to the extent of not recruiting a person for a particular job. We keep them floaters. So wherever there's a need, we actually go and plug the person. So that's how we're tackling it. But yeah, it's a very tricky one. I mean,
so you have a resource shortage in Dubai,
big time.
right? And what about in the region?
It's the same as well.
So we need more people.
Yes.
Chris, can I ask a question? And it's this. First of all, can I say the problem about the dislocation between the hotel schools and the tourism courses and the industry is not a MENA problem. It's global. It's everywhere, including Europe. And the Swiss hotel schools are struggling as well. So let's not think it's just about this region. It isn't. But the question I wanted to ask the two of you, my perception is still that the industry is remarkably open, that people who start quite near the bottom quite often make it to GM. Is that still true? And do you think that will be true in 10 years' time?
I think I'm personally a living testimony. I started as a waiter, and today I'm a general manager. So things happen if you put your mind. I've done 25 years of my hardship. I did hotel school and then got into management training. Then when I came to this region, I started as a waiter.
In our company, we have many success stories where we have had ladies and gentlemen who obviously, started as front of the house or back of the house, and then moved to ladder up to GM or any senior position. And we believe in our company that we grow talent, and talent will grow us as well. So we have a succession plan in place, and we have different initiatives just to make sure that we really promote within first before going outside and recruiting for any position.
I just think the industry is really bad at communicating what is such an important message. Because there are now very few industries where you can start at the bottom and still end at the top. And I think it will be true of travel and tourism for a while yet.
Are there any other questions? Do we have any more time, Howard?
You have a couple of minutes more if you want to take it. But you have 5 more minutes if you want to.
5 more minutes. Well, I have a question for you, because you're running training across a wide region. You've discussed sustainability, delivering sustainable training. But obviously, I assume that the knowledge base of the people you're training is going to be vastly different across the territory. So do you adapt your training materials? And how do you do so?
So what we have, for example, for Africa and any emerging market where we don't have hotel school, is we have partner with Lobster Inc., providing online solution when it comes to training. So, they undergo a journey where they have different models from F&B to engineering, and they touch base on different points. So, for example, it goes from how to serve a coffee, what is the difference between a macchiato and a latte, and how it's done. And then they go through the journey, so when they are at the hotel, they can also use it on their own telephone, device, smart apps. So it's basically for them at the glance, so they can use it anywhere. whenever they want. And then we embed that with on-the-job skills training. So we further develop them once they have acquired those skills and then practice them at the hotel level.
Thank you. Any other questions? So
One then, Chris. If I'm right and the industry is going to remain open, is part of the process that you're using one of people finding role models within the company and mentors who look after their career progression? You're nodding. But what is interesting, I'm sorry to go on about this, the industry does this all over the place. You never talk about it. And yet it's one of the stunning things about the way training in the industry works, I think.
I mean, Heidi, that must have been the case in the examples you gave. I mean, how did the companies train those individuals to progress up the ladder? What was their structure?
Well, there was a mix of formal training, course-based training, and then on-the-job training. But in most instances, there was a mentor with business experience of running a business who guided that person, and they followed in their footsteps. But what is really interesting is that both of these individuals that I showed have now become role models in their communities. So people say, I want to be like Nico, or I want to be like Kira. Well, Kira, to get a skipper's license is a real achievement. So they can now in future, as owners, co-owners of the companies, also start transferring what they have learned to a younger generation as well.
So really mentors need to be part of the training structure.
For example, in our company, we have a mentor-mentee program where we assess young talent from within, and they undergo an assessment center. After that, they go on a journey of 18 to 24 months, and where they have different curriculum, and we create classes as well. So this is so we have batches or classes of 18 to 20 people across EMEA. And they then get graduated once they completed their project. And in the region, because of the emerging market and also the booming of the hotels we have in Saudi Arabia, we were able successfully to place all our mentees last year into new position as a GM.
I just wish you'd talk about it more.
So, I mean, that's excellent. I mean, so we've really heard about inclusion, using of multimedia structured techniques, and mentoring. So there's some suggestions there. Yes, another question, please. An observation or a question?
As an observation of the business in the UAE, we are coming across lots of training managers and directors who have been let go from companies because companies now are not focusing on training and they are looking more at the bottom line and centralizing training. So as a result of that, I mean, are those people just out there looking for jobs? I know there are lots of senior training people from really good companies who are looking for jobs and they haven't got.
Thank you for your observation. Do you have any
I
comment?
think personally, I don't believe in that philosophy. There are few positions you never cut. And personally, I would never cut training in quality, marketing, sales, revenue. These positions are key positions and they're sort of the custodians of what hotel is, So I don't think so. That's an approach in multinational or big companies. It is. I think. Is it okay? But yeah, there is consolidation happening. Definitely, there's so many mergers happening. You just heard Marriott, Starwood, Accor, FRHI. So many mergers happen, and that's a natural attrition from all these mergers. I think this is sort of.
It may be easier for me to say it than it is for anybody on the panel. And don't forget, I worked at a university. One of the problems is that the people who've been a long time in a college or university have lost contact with the industry. And the training that's being offered is too often too far off the pace. And that's why it's failing. And it's a great sadness, but it takes a lot of effort to keep up to date with the sheer speed that the industry now changes at. And it's unfortunate for those people who become redundant in that process. It's very sad, but it happens.
Just talking about training as well, so at the Radisson Hotel Group, we do business school. So once or twice a year, we actually have 13 to 15 classes running all together, where we invite not only the people from, let's say, GCC or Saudi Arabia, but across the globe to all meet together. So they get also, on top of the training experience, the networking experience, which works very beautifully in our company.
Excellent.
Just to add to that, if I may add,
Please.
there's certain things we'll never be able to teach in the school. I mean, hospitality is very experiential learning, and you have to spend time on the ground. So there will never be an MBA or a master's degree which will be able to replace that. That's my view.
Yeah, I think there's one last question. Yes, please.
This is not a question exactly. I just wanted to share you something. The chain hotels, compared to chain hotels and independent hotels, chain hotels, they doesn't have an empowerment towards their employees. There is a lot of restrictions, whereas independent hotels, they have a lot of flexibilities. Don't you think so? The business is very easy for independent hotels to divert the business from chain hotels. To get the business from chain hotels. So for example, I worked in chain hotels. I worked in IHG before. There is a lot of restrictions, in order to get, there are some room nights to be committed and all those things. Where in chain hotels, you have an empowerment, they have given so much of empowerment, it easily to crack the business for the independent hotel. So what is your take on that?
I mean, if I understand your question correctly, you're mentioning about business, or is it?
I think he's making a distinction between chain hotels and independent hotels, and there's greater flexibility for independent hotels.
I think it's all to do with the positioning of a particular property, and everything gets driven from there. So if it's a 5-star property, then yes, you'll have to hold rates, and you cannot go down to what an independent hotel would do, where there's more flexibility of flexing rates, and that's purely business. So you have to have that brand integrity, so you cannot compromise on that. So,
okay, I'm afraid we have to finish now. Harold's got a whole agenda. Thank you all very much for attending. It was really good. Thank you.